To get started, first of all, welcome to today's webinar on branding and storytelling. So, our whole kind of concept here is to really kind of unpack what branding is, what it's not, how it has any bearing on what you do, which it does a lot, which you're going to learn. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how you can implement some things and how that impacts what you guys create, what you're building, no matter what kind of business. You may be a TikTok live host, you may be doing shop, you may be doing Etsy, it doesn't matter. Uh, these are these are some key things that I think are going to help you a lot. So first of all, let me talk a little bit about myself real briefly, so you kind of know who I am. So I'm spent over 25 years in media and marketing. I've worked in radio and television, and I've also worked in nonprofit production, traveled. I think I've been to 35 countries, done a lot of videography work, production work over the years, and I in during that period had taught a number of classes as well. So for about the last 12 years, I've been an adjunct professor where I've taught classes on media leadership and marketing, and in all those we talk about branding, telling your story, what marketing is, what it's not, all that kind of thing. And so I built brands, I've taught it. I've got my own brand, which some of you might have seen, which I launched last summer after some changes, the Digital Strategy Professor. And so you guys can find me on all the socials at the Dave Groves. And then on Facebook, it's just the Digital Strategy Professor. So my lens, as I put it here, is that real talk, no hype, being transparent, being really like, hey, this is what's been tested. This isn't just classroom. You know, rhetoric, but things we've actually refined in the classroom. And so, as we kind of go through this today, I hope that you'll take some notes. I want to invite you to, when we're done, feel free to ask some questions in the chat, but also you can email me at any time if you get stuck or you have a question, Dave at thedavegroves.com. Okay, so let's move on. I want to talk to you. I always like to do this in my classes. So let's talk about what we're trying to accomplish today. Okay. So what I want you to walk away with is number one, define branding clearly. I want you to be able to understand what it actually is and clear out any myths. I think a few of you are going to have some aha moments here. We're going to talk about logo versus brand. We're going to talk about how story moves people. We're also going to talk about how people have to believe. They have to have belief in the product, belief in you before they buy. And then we're going to talk about the 95-5 rule. So this is something that I think is going to help a lot of you that are just now building your brand. Those of you that have been established for 2 or 3 years, definitely the percentage will be a little different for you. But I think this is going to help a lot of you to kind of understand. Um, when this clicks, I think you'll stop doing the sales chasing and you really start building something that people can trust, because trust is really kind of the most important thing for people when they decide that they want to come alongside you and buy what you have. So the big idea is what is a brand? Okay, so let's talk about this. Your brand is you. It's your story. Your brand is a promise. So let's unpack that a little bit. Um, it's not what you say; it's what the people believe. Now, when you think about brands, when you think about retail, fast food, big time box stores, whatever, you have an immediate perception in your mind. Okay. You have a thought that you have. It's what you believe about that brand. It's based on your experience, it's based on what they've promoted. And no branding that's done in our world is in any way accidental by these companies. They take branding incredibly serious. They protect the brand. They're very focused on growing the brand, growing the influence of the brand. So branding isn't the message you broadcast, it's the belief that you earn from people. It lives in the customer's mind. It is shaped by every interaction and every single experience, every touch point. With my students, when I teach in college classes, I talk a lot about touch points. People need to have this constant reminder of why the brand is important to them, why they should even care. I call it the who cares test. So, where the brand is a promise, it's what you're going to follow through on. So if you are an affiliate marketer and you are promoting a product, you are making a promise, backing it with your brand, even if it's just your own name, your own moniker, that this is a good quality product. You've used it, you like it, and it works really great, and you're recommending it. I've seen a lot of people that promote brands, and I'm like, there's no way. Like I saw one the other day, a couple of skinny guys chatting it up, young guys, 20 something, about GLP ones, right? I'm like, you guys don't use this. This is so unauthentic. And so that's what I'm talking about. I did not believe that somebody that was fresh out of college in what appeared to be very good health will be promoting something like that. Well, I'm all, talking about diabetes and everything. I'm like, I wouldn't buy off those guys. That's why you'll notice in a lot of the ads that you see on TV, people that look like all of us, right? Regular people, middle aged people, many of us, talking about, oh, you need to consider this, whatever it is for your health. And you're like, oh, yeah, I can believe that because you're seeing someone that looks like you. So where the story comes in, and I want to talk about this is where the promise gets felt. Okay. It's not just heard. And that's why it's so important as you talk about what you do, as you promote your affiliate marketing, your product on your stores, or if you're an affiliate marketer for ETS or for content to cash, you are telling people, here is the story where I was broke, and I'll give you guys some of mine. I was, broke single dad, living paycheck to paycheck, just trying to actually not even paycheck to paycheck, paycheck to 4 days before paycheck. And I've been able to scale businesses, including this in digital marketing, to become a successful digital marketer and to earn and to change my financial outlook. So this is where I want to talk a little bit about how important trust is. So I call this the trust equation. So write this down. Trust equation is this: you keep the promise, okay? Trust compounds. You want the loyalty to deepen. And most importantly, you want to build your brand's reputation, okay? There's a lot of noise out there in the space. There's a lot of courses. There's a lot of people out there making promises, lots of crazy promises. I'm not that guy. I don't think that a lot of you want to be that kind of person where you're making crazy claims of income and things like that because that's just not genuine. It's inauthentic, and people will not flock to that. Okay, you want to just be real and say, look, this isn't a miracle drug. This isn't an overnight success thing. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to show up. And maybe it's just showing up every day on your lunch break, but you got to show up. You got to work. The trust equation then on the other side of that is when the promise is broken. Um, you can't be saved by a budget. No slogan can save you, and no ad, any kind of ad or logo is going to save you. So let's talk about that in the real world. We've seen this out of a lot of major brands, right? Um, we've seen in the past where there's been broken promises by companies that they didn't follow through. I've seen a lot of this in the fast food world where they've been acquired by bigger companies and they've totally lost who they are. They've lost the promise of the best the best food for the best price because really it's just a numbers game. Your brand is a very important promise to the customer, and you've got to keep it. So let's talk about what branding isn't, because this is something that comes up in my college classes, and I love to ask this question because everybody gets it wrong, and I think it's a lot of fun, especially when you're dealing with 21-year-olds. Most people start here and they get stuck. So let's talk about this. First of all, your brand is not your logo. Okay, the brand is often the logo plays an important role, but the logo is a part of the brand. Okay. It's not your colors and fonts. It's not your slogan. It's not your ads. And it's not your product. It's not even what you say. It's what they believe. Okay. You can say lots of stuff. We've seen this, right? Remember Kmart? Well, made all kinds of promises. Your logo isn't your brand. It's a name tag for something much bigger. It's very important that you play that back in your mind when you think about great brands. What is it that makes them special? Okay, so let's talk. I want to talk about a little bit what is branding. Okay, so branding is, first of all, we've already established it's a promise you keep. It's a commitment that's made and honored. This is really big, guys. It's a feeling that you create. What do people feel when they think of you? Okay, when they see your content, when they see you out there on the socials, when they see your website, when they see you on lives, what do they think of you? There's one key thing I put here, that emotional residue, positive or negative, is a part of your brand. Okay. And we know this to be true in our real lives when we're out there shopping. There's emotional residue on how we feel about certain establishments, places we do and don't want to go. It's what people say behind your back. Okay. If you've ever experienced that where you recommend a place to somebody and they go and have a terrible experience there, a restaurant or whatever, it changes their feeling about the brand, right? And the same is true of you. Your brand is the conversation happening in rooms where you're not, and it has to be intentionally shaped. Now, I'm not going to get into the marketing angle of this because marketing is a different defined thing. It's a whole nother class. I actually teach whole sessions on that with the students when we talk about traditional marketing, TV, radio, signage, all that. But my favorite my favorite definition of marketing is the management of perception. Okay. Everybody has perception. Everybody has a perception about you, your brand online, what you sell, your store, whatever. You have to manage it. You have to shape that perception. Sometimes it's a lot of things that are not articulated through your own mouth. It's from what you do and the quality. That's why I try to make sure my content it has good quality, make sure I'm mic'd, make sure it's well lit. I reshoot stuff all the time. I move places all over the place. I That's why one of the that's why the car tends to be a pretty good one for a lot of us. Okay. So let's talk about this. It's built over time. Okay. It's kind of like how many of you have experienced where you've lost maybe confidence in a brand in your own personal life, something you've bought for a long time, and it takes a long time before you're willing to try it again. Okay, because trust isn't declared; it's accumulated. You have to. We've heard about this. You guys have probably heard the idea that trust is like filling up a bathtub one spoon at a time, but broken trust is like pulling the drain, right? So your brain is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And that's a Jeff Bezos quote, which I love. It's so true. What do people say about Amazon? What do they say about that? Is it good or is it bad? Okay, so I love to do this with my students. Let's talk about brands that win. Okay, and look, I get it. Some of you are like Starbucks. I won't tell you that it's the best coffee in the world because it's not. But let's talk about the branding of these. And if you've never read a book by the original founder of Starbucks. It's called the Starbucks Experience. I really implore you read it. It is one that will blow you away because he talks about how they specifically built the brand of Starbucks. So let's talk about this. It's never a logo. Okay. So if you strip away the logos, the promise stands on its own. So let's talk about Walmart. Their brand is not a slogan. It's not always the low price, always. It really is this: you will save money, consistent, accessible, and delivered at scale every day. You can walk into a Walmart most of the time and find what you need. It's pretty rare that they don't have what you want, unless it's a very specialized thing. Okay. Starbucks, in the Starbucks experience, he talks about how they wanted to create a unique coffee experience at every location, every place in the world. And so they have the same ritual feeling anywhere in the world. Okay. Consistency is the product. Maybe not the best in my opinion, but it's consistently what it is. Okay. I think Chick-fil-A, in the customer service side of things, their branding is impeccable because they believe that they want you to feel their customer service and it's something you can count on. Okay. And then Apple, simplicity. Apple really grew because of the idea of belonging, right? There's a community of people that like to feel a certain thing. And I would say 100%. Okay, well, I love that. I'm going to read these here in just a second. I see some people talking about Chick-fil-A. So, whether you're a PC or an Apple person, you got to admit, Apple definitely draws people to that community. Okay, so one of the things that I think a lot of people get hung up on is trying to create a logo. Like, you don't really need a logo for what you do. I would say my orange glasses, which I don't have on, probably should have worn, an orange coffee mug. That's kind of a logo for me. As part of the digital strategy professor. But think of it this way, and I love this. This I found this and I wrote it down and I put it here. A wedding ring is part of a marriage. It's not the marriage itself. A logo is a part of a brand, the same way that a wedding ring is a part of a marriage. Okay. The logo does send a message, right? You see it, you immediately go, ooh, arches. I know what that is. Or, ooh, you see the Coca-Cola logo is the most recognized font wording in the world. Okay. It's a symbol that points to the promise. So what I would say is if you're trying to figure out logo stuff, once you determine that, just do a couple things, okay? Make sure first of all that it's really well created. Use AI or use a designer, and then second of all, make sure you're consistent with it across your branding. Okay, don't have an outdated logo or an old picture of you on one of your socials and have your info, and then on go to TikTok and it's like, ooh, look at there it is. You really want to focus on what I call synergy. Okay. The synergy of marketing is that there is a consistent look across all of your platforms. Um, the key thing about logos is you cover it, the brand still remains, right? On a strong brand, you will still feel the brand without the logo. Okay. Just somebody saying Walmart, you know what you're going to get at Walmart. Okay. So this is what's really key is we want to build the promise, build your brand first. The logo earns meaning, but a logo alone isn't going to help you. Okay. Remember what I said earlier. A logo is not going to save you if you got issues, if you got trust broken, the logo is actually just going to hurt you. All right. So if branding is the story, if branding is who you are, what are two or three things that I think that would be really good to kind of take away from that? Number one, be consistent. Your brand needs to have consistency in quality, consistency in messaging. If you are all over the place in your messaging, if this week you're promoting that you're here for parents and next week it's only stay-at-home moms and if the week after that it's working dads, blue collar dads, you're creating a schizophrenic scenario, okay? And I say this all the time to my students. People that are wanting something from you, okay? They're interested, they like what you say, they believe you, they like your personality. They need to have the next step, okay? Do not give people a bunch of options. Now, I say people, I'm talking about all of us, right? We're all consumers, right? The great brands do not give you when they come at you with something, they don't give you all the options. Here's 12 things. Choose. No, they literally say, here's the next thing you're supposed to do. Okay. So you will notice that a part of my branding, this is very, very entrenched, is I am very simplistic in what I have on all my platforms. Okay. I have a link that takes you, I have only one link and it takes you to the landing page I want people to see right now. And I've refined that a lot. But if I'm doing something a little different, I change the link everywhere. I don't add a link, okay? Because then people are like, "Well, he said click here for the free training. Which one do I click?" Keep it simple. If they get 2 or 3 clicks deep and they get a little frustrated, they're gone, okay? You wonder why maybe you get some opt-ins, but you can't get them past second base to go and really consider the product and then bring them home for the sale. It's probably one of those things. You either have some inconsistency in your content or you have too many options, okay? So the logo is important. I wouldn't get all hung up on it right now. I want to take the branding piece over to storytelling. So let's talk about the importance of storytelling and how this breaks it down, okay? Every story genuinely moves people and it helps you create belief and trust earned. It's built around what I consider these four elements, okay? These four pillars. So let's talk about the first one, the character. The audience must see themselves, okay? They got to see themselves in you. When you're talking about how you were struggling with bills or you were in credit card debt or whatever, they need to feel like they can see themselves in you, okay? Number two, conflict, okay? You got to talk about your struggle, the tension, the stakes. You want to talk about if they don't make changes, what's at risk if they have everything stay the same, okay? Conflict creates such an urgency in people that it enables you to come in and what I say is deliver a truth and deliver the opportunity for transformation. So in all of your pieces that you create, you want to allow people to see themselves in you, and then you want to talk about how things were different, things were tough for you, what you did, and where the transformation was. Okay. So this is where we get to number 3, which is this idea of authentic truth, okay? Real, honest, and vulnerable. If you are vulnerable and you say things like what we've heard from a lot of people in this space, "Oh, I didn't want to go to the mailbox," right? "I didn't want to see the credit card debts. I was afraid to tell my husband. I didn't know how we were going to pay the bills. I didn't want to tell my kid, no, we couldn't do that next month because we didn't have enough money." So this is where people feel that authenticity. It's really key, okay? Before they really are understanding what it is you do, they want to feel like they can really know that you're authentic, okay? And then this is so key. If you stop there, all you've done is give people a feel good story, but you haven't talked about your transformation and how they can be transformed. And this is such an important thing. You have to then explain the after, okay? You got to take them and say, look, it's possible. Here is the living proof, me. Okay. This is what really gets people to have a desire and a belief. Because then they've seen themselves in you, they've understood they can totally see the conflict and really understand that. And they get that because they feel that. And then they believe you. You're very authentic. You're telling them the truth. Don't tell your story too, guys. Your brain is your story. Don't tell other people's story. And you may say, "Well, I don't have this incredible, crazy story." Well, just tell the reality of where you were and where you've come from. And then tell about the after. Now, I get this a lot. People will talk about this. They'll say, "Well, but I'm just getting started. I just got into Embrace the Space. I'm a newbie, all that. I don't have a big transformation yet. I'm still in the ramp up. I'm still getting my sea legs." Well, this is where you talk about, hey, I'm in a growing stage. I am making changes for my family. Here are my goals. My transformation is ongoing. My transformation is something that I'm doing every day. And then share the victories along the way. Talk about, like, I can talk about students, not just college, but within this space. I can talk about that. Now, I can't talk that I've, made crazy 6-figure years yet because I'm not there yet. But I'm on the journey. For some of you, I'm behind you. For some of you, I'm ahead of you. But it doesn't really matter because everybody has their own. Okay. So this is where you want to really talk about how you're transforming your life and you're literally doing this in real time. And then as you get those transformative moments and as you grow, as your audience grows, then you can come in with, hey, here's what I was able to accomplish last month. If you're on vacation next year, or this summer and it's paid for because of the work at the digital marketing and the sales that you made online, then you do a video from where you're at on vacation and just do it and talk about, hey, we're here because of this. Show the transformation. All right, I know I'm covering a lot and I want to get through it all so that we can get to some questions. For those of you watching the recording, be sure that you email me your questions. I'd love to answer them. Happy to do that. Okay, so we're kind of coming in for a landing here soon. So we'll talk a little bit about one of the most important things, and that is the psychological elements of story. Okay. Our story is one that has to be believed, but it's not something that you can really, you can't copy others because there is such a psychological connection that you have, obviously, to your own. So here's how this kind of works with story. And this is why I think movies are still so successful. People love to sit down and escape. Number one is we're wired for narrative. Okay. What do I mean by that? Well, facts inform, but stories are remembered. I remember stories my grandfather told me to this day. And I retell those stories. I don't remember a lot of facts that he told me. I don't remember a lot of statistics of this or that. I mean, I know his father only had a fourth grade education. So there's a fact that I remember. Our brains, they encode the narrative far more deeply than data. This is why stories are so powerful. You remember the movies that made you cry. You remember the movies that were landmark. You remember the books you read. You remember the stories that your family told you. I grew up hearing stories of, all of those things. Emotion before logic. This is really key. People buy on emotion. You've heard that if you've been in this space very long. And then they justify afterward with logic. Okay, so let me say that again. People buy on emotion and then they justify it later with logic. Okay, buyer's remorse, right? So, story is the fastest path to the emotional decision making center of the brain. If you're just facts, 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 let me tell you about the statistics. Let me tell you about how much money you can make. You're not connecting with people in a way that is going to get them to think emotionally. And remember, we've heard this. And if you're new, you may not have heard this stat yet, but 97% of the people online watching you on live or doing digital, looking at your videos, looking at your landing page, opting into your email sequence, 97% of them will not buy impulsively. Okay. 3% will. When you're on live and you got 10 people in there, you got a chance that 3% are going to buy. Okay. And that's pretty low. It's less than one. So I got to think that this is where you got to tell your story. Tell your story in your lives. Talk about, where you grew up. Talk about whether you went to college or not or whatever. You got to live the story. A great story collapses the distance between teller and the listener. We don't observe it, we really inhabit it. This is where movies are so powerful. When you go to a movie, if you can escape reality and sit down and become like within the movie, this is where you really are moved in a very emotional way. But the idea here, guys, is you may have this great story, but authenticity is the gateway. If you're going to get people to want to hear your story and believe your story, you got to be authentic. It's non-negotiable. People must feel the story is authentic. Okay, they got to feel that they can trust you. They got to feel that you're very honest. Okay, people that perceive inauthenticity immediately shut the door. Okay, if you're inauthentic, bam, door shut. They're gone. They left you live. They didn't read the email. They moved on. So is sales completely emotional? Primarily, and here's a couple of the reasons, okay? Belief has to come before the sale. Sales is not transactional, it's psychological. The transaction is just the final step of getting people, okay? That's why I don't spend an enormous time when I'm on live or when I'm in my videos. I try to really connect with people and give them some great value in my video. And then I give them here's your transaction opportunity, okay? If you get the sequence wrong, you lead with the offer, you're going to push people away. And this is what I see a lot of. I was just talking to one of the students the other day about this. I said, you're coming out of the box all about the program. Here, this is going to change your life. Sale, sale, sale. And you're only going to appeal to people that are that very small percentage that are they're looking for a course. They're looking for something. Instead, you got to flip it. And we're going to get into that here in a minute, the percentage. So, trust is the currency. Show up consistently. You got to demonstrate real value. Like I just said, give them value in every video. I have 3 or 4 videos I made this week, guys. I don't even pitch anything. I don't pitch anything. I don't think I even said in 2 of them, at least, go get the training in my bio. I didn't even say that. I know my reels on Facebook have done better because I think, again, I'm just giving value. I'm not trying to sell them on every video. If they're following me, I want them to go, oh, that's a really good tip. Oh, man, that's a really great idea. I hadn't thought about that. Okay. So give them real value, demonstrate it, earn their belief. And I know this is the slow thing. I know this is the part where people get frustrated. They're like, oh, it's taking so long. But you're building a brand from nothing. Unless you have a huge following on social media already, you are an unknown and you got to start somewhere and you have to build it and you're building it from scratch. So you've got to be patient with the process. Okay. But if you do each of these things that you've learned in the modules, if you go through and you do these things, if you show up consistently, if you demonstrate here, you give them real value. If you're like, well, I don't know everything, go into the modules, find 2 or 3 really great points that resonate with you and do videos about them. Okay. Talk about those concepts, earn their belief, and then you get the right to sell to them. Okay. Then they're trusting of you. Then they're like, I want what she has. I want to be that mom that does that. So that's where it's so key, guys, is you don't get the cart before the horse. If you get in a hurry, all you're going to do is waste a lot of time. You're going to have to come back anyway. Okay. So let's talk about this 95-5 rule. Okay. I love this. I did not coin this. I'm going to give all the credit. The guy that did it is Gary Vaynerchuk. If you know who Gary V is, He is the guy that has talked about this when it comes to branding, and I love it, so I put it in here. It's this idea that early on people flip this math. Okay, brand building should be 95% of what you're doing early on. If you're new, if you're within, honestly, if you're still within the first year, you got to build your brand. Now, it doesn't mean you have to build a massive audience or a massive following, because you can have 2 or 3 thousand people that are just core people that follow you and they love what you bring and they love the value that you give them. And it'd be just as valuable as 20,000 people that half pay attention. Okay. So show up, serve, teach, prove it. Okay. Build your authority, be consistent, build the reputation. Okay, we're building the brand. Show up. I show up. Hey, I'm Dave, the digital strategy professor. Today, I'm talking about what makes your hooks work. Today, I'm talking about why you're not going viral on TikTok, which I'm not all about going viral, but that was definitely one that people really resonated with, because people are all, everyone wants to go viral. They think it's the great thing that's going to make them go to the, Mr. Beast level. But give value without expectation. This is, like I said, some of my videos, I don't even pitch anything. I don't say, go get my training. I don't say, hey, if you want to know more info, you know, comment the word ready. Some of them I don't do that. This is how you fill the well. Okay. If you start going to a well before it's full of water, you're going to, well, it's filling up, right? You're gonna run out of water. Okay. So start filling the well, start building the reputation, start building the brand. And then 5% sales. Okay. Soft, occasional, almost incidental. Again, this is when we're building the brand. And you're like, well, how do I know when I'm there? Well, you're going to know when you're there when you've got consistent levels of opt-ins every day. You're consistently seeing sales of whether it's your low ticket or your high ticket. Okay. Whatever it is, you're seeing opt-ins to your web portal, to your funnel. Okay. In the beginning, though, 95%, we're building the brand. We're building the reputation every day. Guys, I focus on ways to build my brand. I just launched the Facebook. I wasn't even on Facebook. Facebook was a very personal thing for me, family. I did nothing on Facebook for several years. And I primarily have lived on Instagram and TikTok. I had a pretty good following on TikTok. Well, I'm sorry, no, Instagram and LinkedIn. And then I decided about 3 weeks ago, I really need to have a branded Facebook for the digital strategy professor. So I started that. So I'm building my brand reputation over there, man. And nobody knows who I am, right? And I'm getting a lot of digital marketers coming in and starting to follow me, and they like some of the things that I'm posting. I'm reposting Gary Vee. I'm reposting Tony Robbins. Excuse me. And I'm posting a lot of my own original content. So 95.5. I'd love to get your feedback on that here in a minute. Remember, authority compounds like interest. You're building your authority, you're building your reputation. The more you invest in your brand early, the more it will pay dividends down the road. It makes the sales easier, guys. People don't buy off of brand new brands. Okay. This is why it's so hard this is why so many restaurants fail, right? It's because people are like, oh, I don't know anything about that. And then they don't want to go check it out. So how do they build reputation? You ever worked at a business where the restaurants come in with free lunch coupons, right? They're trying to get their reputation. They're trying to get all the lunchtime folks to come over and try it and then tell their friends. So this is where reputation for what you're doing is so important. All right. So let's bring this in for a landing, and then I'm going to take some questions. One through line connects everything in this session, okay? And I want you to return to this. Take a screenshot. If you're watching the video, pause this, write this down. Whenever you feel lost in your tactics, whenever you feel lost with the tools and the trends and the minutia, I want you to remember these things. Make and keep the promise of your brand. It's the promise you make to your customer and whether you keep it. Great brands keep the promise. Failed brands, they don't. They go under, they go bankrupt, and you think of all the stores we grew up with that are no longer around, okay? Because they lost the trust of people and it eroded. Number 2, tell true stories. Tell your story. Tell stories of other people that have impacted you, but tell true stories. This is where people feel your message. They understand that they want to hear where you've had conflict, where you had this truth moment of what had to change and what you did, and it didn't work. I tell that all the time, guys. I tell that part. I say, I've done other courses. I've hired coaches. I've spent thousands on mentors, coaches, and I had a branding coach for a while. He actually helped me quite a bit, but he costs a lot of money, and it didn't work to the level of what I really wanted it to. And so I'm honest about that. Okay, and then I talk about the transformation of where I'm at now. Authenticity is the only currency that converts. Okay. Next, build build belief before the sale. So make and keep the promise, tell true stories, and then so key, you've got to build belief before the sale. 95.5. Okay. Every day when you create content, think, is most of my content as a newbie about building my reputation and my brand? If it's not, if it's you going, go to this, get my thing, buy my course, you're hurting yourself. Okay. Lastly, get the brand going first, the sales will follow. 95.5, and the close will become so much easier. Okay. So make those promises, build belief, tell true stories, and remember brand first, 95.5.